Hello everybody and welcome back to our lecture series. I'm Ted, your host, and for this lecture, this is a fact, sorry about that. For this fact, we're going to look at Prohibition. And Prohibition was the culmination of a very long campaign by um, by uh, by American temperance leagues. They have been fighting since the mid 19th century to get the United States to ban alcohol. And as we have discussed in previous facts and in previous lectures, they had a lot of success on state and county levels. In which one case that we already covered was the Kansas case, in which they outlawed the brewing. They outlawed the brewing, the manufacture, the sale, and consumption of alcohol. And that law was upheld by the Supreme Court. But Prohibition came into effect on the first day, on January 1st of 1920. And from the very beginning, the law was really unenforceable. There wasn't any sort of civilian muscle behind the law. The law was not to be enforced by the State Department or local police agents or even like state legal agents. The law was enforced by the Treasury Department. And they never had enough resources to fully deal with the dilemma. And more importantly, Prohibition set in place this gradual acceptance of disregarding laws that you don't agree with. Prohibition was never really accepted by the vast majority of America. To be certain, it did cut down on the drinking habits of the United States. Alcohol consumption was never at its lowest in any point of American history than during Prohibition. It did not completely end, but it was reduced to nearly a third of what it had been before. Many people did uphold the law, but many more people didn't. And a number of individuals, primarily people of ethnic backgrounds, these ethnic groups that had immigrated to the United States during the 1880s and the early 20th century, these ethnic groups that were sort of relegated to these ethnic slums, these ghetto areas, they used Prohibition as a way to escape those ethnic slums and make it into the American middle class. They had been largely relegated to low-paying, menial manual labor jobs, and Prohibition allowed them to attain the finances necessary to enter the American middle class, but also to gain acceptance into the American middle class. Notable figures of of Prohibition, or the Prohibition era, include figures like Al Capone. Capone would go on to create a criminal syndicate empire in Chicago before he was brought down, not by murder charges or violating Prohibition charges, but on or even racketeering charges, but on tax evasion. I always thought that was quite interesting that the man responsible for the Valentine's Day massacre was brought down for evading paying his taxes. But in the end, Prohibition largely failed. And one of the first measures of Franklin Roosevelt's administration back in 1933 was to repeal Prohibition, was to repeal the Volstead Act and to pass an amendment and to see to it that an amendment was ratified, ending Prohibition as a failed experiment in American history. But we'll get to that in another fast fact. For now, hit like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what you thought about this fast fact. And as always, I'm Ted, and I'll see you guys next time.